Good morning. Welcome to a new class. Today we'll be discussing PCOS. This is a very complex condition. It's a syndrome, a polycystic ovarian syndrome. Syndrome simply means it's a collection of medical symptoms and signs that occur together, and there is no specific cause. So in PCOS, you have insulin resistance, which we discussed last week. In diabetes, you have cells that block sugar or glucose from entering, energy from entering into the cell. Hence, you don't get energy, hence you have fatigue. Your cells cannot metabolize energy. So all that blood sugar in your bloodstream gets either filtered out by the kidneys, or it stays in the blood and causes all sorts of issues like fatigue, dizziness, blood vessel damage, etc. So the way we're going to understand PCOS is first understand the menstrual cycle. So I can show you all sorts of hormones are released at what time and when. And those hormones will give you a framework of the endocrine system, okay? The endocrine system in our body essentially is, all it is your brain connection to all the glands, and it's like a loop. So let's say your testes or your ovaries are over here, the reproductive area, the reproductive glands, and then you have pancreas over here, and then you have thyroid gland over here, and this is all like a loop. This is the endocrine system. Your body has like a feedback loop that all the hormones operate in, and that's the endocrine system. So to understand this, it's very complex. Okay, there's many players involved, but to easily grasp it, it's better if we do it through the menstrual cycle in a logical way, rather than me explaining each hormone and what they do. So we'll do that first, then we'll understand how the current medical system looks at PCOS as a multi-complex condition, the causes of PCOS, and then we'll start looking at why those causes actually happen, okay? So we'll go deeper into understanding why you have insulin resistance. Then we'll look at ancient civilizations and how they understood menses, as well as womanhood, because PCOS is sort of, your body is turning into a more masculine energy. That's mainly what it is. There's too much testosterone in the body, and it's endocrine disorder. So you have high levels of testosterone, which basically you get symptoms of hair loss on the head, and you get hair growth around your face and your chest. You miss your periods, essentially. You become infertile. There's cysts that develop on the ovaries, as well as they don't mature properly, and hence you're not able to give birth. You also have acne as well. So you get all these symptoms. Your body sort of, there's a flood of testosterone in your body. Male and female both produce estrogen and testosterone, and the complementary balance is required for a healthy body. But when you have too much testosterone, then your body essentially turns more masculine, which is what we look at from a psychological perspective as well as a physical perspective, how they complement each other. And we'll understand the story of Kali, who is the goddess of destruction in the Hindu scriptures, which is highly linked and highly specific to PCOS. These are going to be our chapters for today. We'll start off with the menses cycle. So we have the menses, when you release the period, blood comes out, and then you have follicular phase, so F for follicular phase, and then you have ovulation, and then you have luteal phase. When you have ovulation, that's when the egg gets released. So I'm just going to draw the uterus. And then you have the vagina over here, endometrial lining, and then you have ovaries, okay, where the eggs are produced, and then you have fallopian tube, where your egg gets traveled through into the uterus, and then there's the cervix over here, which is like a small gap. So when you have menses, that's when period blood gets released. This is the last stage, so over here and over here. The follicular phase is when there is a development of the endometrial lining for the environment to get ready for the egg to be matured and develop completely. When ovulation, and the egg is developing at that time as well. So the egg is developing at that time, and when the egg is ready, it gets released into the fallopian tube, and that's the luteal phase. And it gets ready when it comes into the uterus. If there is no sperm to fertilize the egg, the endometrial lining sheds, and you have blood, which is menses. So that's a quick summary of the menstrual cycle. Now, there are many players in this cycle, which are hormones that get released. So the first hormone, obviously we know we have estrogen, which peaks. I'll just use another color. We have estrogen, which peaks at the same time. This is the estrogen cycle. So as estrogen peaks in follicular phase, the environment gets ready. So estrogen is this. Then we have luteinizing hormone. So This specifically peaks at the same time on day 14 usually. The 28-day cycle, day 14, you also have a peak of, I'll just use orange, but this is like a sharp peak. So it's not sort of spread out. It's like a quick peak and then down. And this luteinizing hormone, LH, so as estrogen rises, it triggers a spike in LH, which basically helps in releasing the mature egg from the follicle. Okay, so the follicle is over here, and as soon as estrogen rises, there's a release of the egg. As soon as LH rises, there's a release of the egg. And then you have, so FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is sort of like a smaller peak. And this basically just helps with maturing and growing the egg. So the growth and the maturation of the egg in the follicle, so there's a follicle around the egg, and that the stimulation of that happens because of FSH. So I'll just put FSH over here. So that's essentially how, and then there's also progesterone again. And then we have progesterone, which kind of peaks after in the luteal phase, which basically helps the environment develop inside the area over here. So uterus, progesterone. There needs to be a fertile environment, thick lining, etc., to ensure there is safety and growth of the egg once it gets fertilized. So that's the whole menstrual cycle and how different players operate inside this cycle. Now let's understand these players and what happens during PCOS. Okay, so I'll introduce a new player to you. It's called gonadotropin releasing hormone. Okay, big words, but I'll explain it. So GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is produced in the hypothalamus in the brain. Okay, so the brain, hypothalamus is around here. And then there is a smaller gland over here, which is like sort of underneath the brain. It's called pituitary gland. So hypothalamus, I'll just put hypo, and pituitary gland, okay? So hypothalamus releases GnRH, which basically helps the trigger or the release or the synthesis of, it tells the pituitary gland to release LH and FSH, okay? LH and FS. The pituitary gland is like shaped like sort of testes, like this. And there's anterior pituitary and there's posterior pituitary. They both have different roles. They basically help the entire endocrine system stay in place. This is the timeline. Now, LH is for testosterone production, testo, and also eventually the stimulation of the ovulation. Ovulation, the trigger, the release of the egg, as we discussed earlier, over here, LH. And then FSH is for growth of the egg. So growth of egg. Now, they basically signal and tell the ovaries. So we're just gonna do something like this, ovaries. In the ovaries, we have two types of cells, Thaker cells, granulosa cells. Granulosa cells. Okay, the two types of cells, they do two different jobs. One is influenced by LH, and the other one is influenced by FSH and insulin. So LH and insulin stimulate the Thaker cells to produce testosterone, okay? And then FSH influences granulosa cells to produce what we call estrogen, but that is with the help of aromatase, okay? So aromatase is simply an enzyme that helps the synthesis of conversion of testosterone into estrogen. Okay, so granulosa cell's job is to convert testo into using aromatase to estrogen. That's what happens in the granulosa cells. This is a normal cycle, a normal human body. Once again, I'll go over it. Hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormone, which triggers pituitary to release LH and FSH. FSH is for growth of the egg. LH is for testosterone production and ovulation. And then LH and insulin intake cells stimulate testosterone, okay, synthesis of testosterone, and FSH and granulosa cells help the testosterone conversion using aromatase to estrogen. Now in PCOS, what happens is there's an increase in androgens, increase in testosterone, because there is a hyperpulsation of gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is basically like a rhythmic hormone. It beats, right? So when there's a fast beat, when there's a high increase in gonadotropin releasing hormone, this also increases. Okay, so LH increases, but FSH decreases. LH increases, FSH decreases. Because of LH increasing and insulin also increasing over here. Okay, there's insulin resistance, right? So there's more amounts of insulin pumped out of the pancreas. Okay, it's going to draw pancreas over here, and they pump out more amounts of insulin to help the metabolism of the sugar. So there's high insulin in the body. And because high LH and high insulin, there's a high level of testosterone production in the body. Because there is a decrease in FSH, there's a decrease in aromatase. Okay? So as you can see, there's two sides. One is increasing and one is decreasing. And basically aromatase is sort of, it's shut off, it's shut down. It's not working properly because FSH is low. Okay? Now, the graph that looks like in PCOS is, as we discussed earlier, the different graphs. So FSH, I'm just going to draw FSH. It's basically like this. Okay? And then you have LH, which is basically sort of like this. It doesn't really spike properly. Even though there's a very increase in LH, it doesn't really peak. It doesn't really surge. You need it to surge in order to release the egg. Okay? So it doesn't surge. It stays down, and this is LH and FSH. And because of these two hormones, again, estrogen is also, right? Because FSH is down, because there is no aromatase, it won't lead to the conversion of estrogen. So estrogen is also low in this. Okay, so I'll just draw estrogen for you. So estrogen is also low. So it's just a very low cycle. And because it's supposed to be big, because it's supposed to be like this, there is no release in the egg. And hence, ovaries stall. Okay, so it just becomes a very hostile environment because there is formation of cyst. Okay, there is cyst formation around. Because there is a sudden spike, so I'm going to put cyst here. Sudden spike, but it's not enough for the egg to be released. And because it's not enough for the egg to be released, you just have stalled follicles around the ovaries, which turn into cysts over time. And the cyst can also rupture, okay, which causes pain. So that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. There's a lot of players in this. There's a lot of hormones. As you can see, the body is very complex. It's got different enzymes, different hormones that convert different things. All it is, in summary, PCOS is high testosterone. That's what we're going to understand. That's what we're going to basically keep in mind, is high testo. Gonadotropin releasing hormone also basically helps release androgens. Hyperandrogenism is the term for this. Hyperandrogenism. There's different types of androgens that are released in the ovaries, okay? Ovaries, DHEA, you have DHT, okay? And you have testosterone. And there's some more as well. There's different types. They're all related to testosterone. So testosterone helps with bone density, muscle mass, and libido, and other things as well, okay? So, but mainly these three things testosterone helps with. When there's an increase in testosterone in your body, you get symptoms of, so PCOS symptoms. You get hirsutism, which is excessive hair growth around the face area, chest area, and your reproductive system as well. So hair plus chest. And then you have acne, okay? And then you have irregular periods, because obviously the egg is not being released into the ovary, right? Sorry, into the uterus, right? There is irregular periods, there's missing periods, there's infertility. Okay, and painful periods as well. Infertility, most women actually, they don't really get diagnosed with PCOS until they get infertile. It's like the last stage. It doesn't get diagnosed very fast because the symptoms take time to appear. And you also get weight gain. Your body's holding on to a lot of fat around your waist, and it's difficult to lose. So you can't really lose it fast. You can't get rid of that weight. Sometimes you also get skin issues, skin patches, issues with the skin, because there's acne, etc. So there's all sorts of hot inflammatory symptoms that you get because your reproductive area is a hostile environment, there is no fertility, there is no right hormones that are influencing the right creation of life in your uterus, because there is irregularity of that. There's an abnormal rate of testosterone in your body. You get all these symptoms. Now, all of this is caused by, again, high testosterone, high insulin, cortisol, so stress. There's also comorbidities, which is like coexisting diseases that you get with PCOS. And there's usually anxiety or depression that come with it. But you also have anxiety before getting PCOS as well. So stress and then anxiety, high cortisol. Mind you, endocrine system, your entire endocrine system is highly sensitive to stress. So if you're highly stressed and you're continuing that stress every single day for a long period of time, there is going to be inflammation that will be built up in your body. There's going to be weight, the fat that's going to accumulate around your body. You'll have sleeping issues as well. PCOS women, it's not a symptom that is noticed or documented in the medical system. Like we discussed earlier, these symptoms. The one thing that happens is you can't really sleep properly as well. In PCOS, you don't get rested sleep because you have high testosterone, which can lead to inability of sleep. High estrogen, in fact, can also lead to inability of sleep. And because you're highly stressed, it's likely that you're going to not sleep properly, which again increases inflammation in your body. So we're just going to put it down as one of the causes, even though it's not really linked. Like, it's not really documented well in the medical field. So sleep is a major cause of inflammation in the body, a lack of sleep. And then we have the indulgence in food of high carbohydrates, fats, like the wrong fats. High carbs and wrong fats, as we discussed last week in diabetes. You have saturated fats and you have trans fats, which can increase cholesterol levels in your body, the wrong cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and that can make your cells become resistant to insulin as well. So wrong fats, okay. And then fast absorbing carbs, so foods that are high in glycemic index, okay. So high fast absorbing carbs, so high GI, okay. Junk foods, chips, indulgence in like sweets, etc. They all cause insulin resistance. And then again, lack of exercise. So lack of exercise, it's all the same. Every single disease, it's all the same. Sleep, stress, wrong foods, lack of exercise, lack of movement. It's all the same in every disease. But again, why aren't people able to overcome diseases? Because it's psychological. Okay? Because a lot of it is psychological, because they're not able to overcome their psychological conditioning, which is why they stay in this loop. Even though they eat the right foods, even though they do all of it correctly, they follow a protocol, they're still not able to overcome the disease. It's simply because they're not able to overcome the psychological part of it. As above, so below. Let's move on to discussing why this happens. Okay, why you have an insane amounts of stress in your body, why you're indulgent in different like foods that are wrong for you, why you're not exercising, why you're not sleeping well. But just understand, it's because your system is on overdrive. Fatigue is also a huge cause, in fact, I forgot to mention. Because your system is on overdrive, fatigue, all of this actually leads to fatigue. Because essentially you're just overcompensating your energies. Okay, and I'll explain to you why you're doing that. It's all linked, right? So stress causes lack of sleep. Lack of sleep makes you want to eat more. You don't have satiety levels which get regulated in your body. Hence, you don't know when to stop eating and you crave more junk food, which is why you get insulin resistance. And when lack of exercise as well, causes insulin resistance. And it's all linked together. Now, the one thing to understand is that in plants and in animals, even though there are animals with high testosterone, for example, hyenas, and it's normal for them, like women hyenas, to have high testosterone levels, they also have like a pseudo penis, you would see. Okay, so I'm going to draw a hyena. I don't know how to draw it, but they would have like a pseudo penis, the women hyena, and usually they have high testosterone levels. In plants, there's not really testosterone. There is phytoestrogens in different plants, but the way plants become infertile is when there is an environmental pollutant. Again, when there is environmental stressor like fertilizers or chemicals that are used to spray the plants only produce male buds. They don't produce female buds. So this is a plant, and this is a female plant, and this is a male plant. Usually infertility, environmental stresses, let's say environmental stresses from the environment, you would usually only get a male plant produced, and hence the plant will become infertile. That's what is seen in the plant and animal kingdom. We won't go too much into it, but that's what I want you to know. When there is an environmental stress, just like in us, we have infertility. Now, what is causing the stress? That should come to your mind, right? Why are you stressed? So in ancient civilization, I'll just summarize it for you. We had Ayurveda, Hermetism, which is Egyptians, Greek, Roman medicine, Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine. All of them looked at the uterus and periods as a heavenly thing. It was somewhere we could give birth, somewhere where life is generated. So the uterus was actually a heavenly thing to get periods. Okay. And women were known as cool, they were calming, emotional, right? These are the energies of the moon. Okay. And then you have the sun. The reason why I'm telling you this is because your hormones, estrogen and testosterone, we have two, again, there are polarities. There are yin and yangs in this world. So you have the sun and the moon, which make the earth fertile. This is what I want you to understand. The earth is the place where you have fertility, where you have life. Okay, you don't have life on the sun. You don't have life on the moon. There's life and there's birth on earth. That's because the sun and the moon complement each other. They don't oppose each other. There's a complementary effect. They help each other's advantages to grow. Because of the gravitational pull of the moon on the earth is calmness, there's cooling, there is stability, there is water, and it's not getting dried up by the sun's heat. Okay? In ancient cultures, in Ayurveda, for example, there is a flow. Okay? There's a water flow through the uterus, menses, right? There's a flow of energy. It is known as a sacred time when there is no moon, new moon, and it's a time of reflection, pause, relaxation. You're not supposed to do anything when you're getting your menses. It's traditionally, that's what it's known to be. Like you're supposed to relax, not work out, not be active a lot. The male energy, which is the sun, it's the active energy. It's the fire. It's the movement. It's the fierce aggression, motivation energy. Whereas the moon energy, it's cooling, it's subtle, it's calm, it's balancing, moistening, resting. At night, you release melatonin, which helps you sleep, right? You're resting, you're relaxed. Okay. In the morning, when the sun is there, you're active, you're more masculine, you get power, you get energy out of the sun, right? And you get relaxation out of the moon, the yin and the yang. Okay, that's what we have to understand when we're understanding the theory of PCOS. That's what I want you to keep in mind. There are complementary existence of the yin and yang. So the sun and the moon, they influence the body. Okay, like we mentioned earlier, there is testo. Just imagine, even though there's no direct influence, but just I want you to imagine it as a symbolism. The sun is the masculine energy, the moon is the female energy, and the menses were known as moon blood back in the day. So cooling, resting, you sleep at night, warm, drying, this is moistening, and then you have, which is estrogen. So melatonin and serotonin as well. And then you have serotonin, okay? And by the way, it's funny because there's a direct link between these two hormones. So serotonin makes melatonin, right? There's, like we discussed in our earlier classes, serotonin makes melatonin. Testosterone converts to estrogen using aromatase. So the sun gives energy to the moon. This is the beautiful synthesis of the world that we live in. So there's a direct link in the body as well. That's why I want you to understand these hormones as significant players in understanding how you help PCOS. So now I want you to imagine if on the earth there is just the sun. What would happen if you just have to, that is what is PCOS, right? It's just testosterone. There's a direct link with testosterone and dopamine. Dopamine is your motivation, reward hormone in your body that gets released when you're working hard and when you're putting in the effort and you get a reward. And testosterone is known as the effort molecule. So when you're doing work, when you're getting results, you have a reward system that gets basically feedback loop from the achievements in your life, and you get more dopamine. You get hits of dopamine in your brain when you achieve something. When you put effort because of the testosterone in your body, high overdrive, high levels of energy, you have the motivation to achieve more. That's your purpose, sort of, during the daytime. And when at the nighttime, you're relaxed and you're shut down and you are regaining and restoring your energy because you're relaxing. But imagine if you just have the sun. What would happen? The world would dry up, right? Because there is no moon, there is no nighttime, there is no water to be stabilized and pulled gravitationally. You would have the water being drying up. As the earth gets close to the sun, there's a drying up of the waters. There's evaporation of the water, and essentially there's heat that rises up from the core of the earth more and more, which destroys life on the planet. Okay, so if you just have, imagine if you just have the sun, right, and you don't have the moon, the planet gets destroyed. You become infertile. Okay, that's the link. Now, in PCOS, you just have testosterone in your body, like high levels of, you can't really make estrogen. It's simply because you're not focusing on relaxation. And what testosterone and this energy within you is doing, overdrive within you is doing inside the uterus, is it's drying up. It's drying up the uterus. Moisture because of the moon blood, immature lining, the luteal cycle, moon cycle. It's all linked. And because there is drying up of the uterus, okay, it's hot, it's dry, there's a lot of inflammation. There's cyst development around here because you're not able to convert estrogen, because there's not enough melatonin as well. You're not sleeping well. PCOS women, they don't have enough melatonin. Melatonin is your primary anti-inflammatory hormone that ensures that your egg is secure. There's antioxidants around the egg that can protect it from inflammation. So because of too much heat in your body, because of ambition that you have, because of the drive that you have in your body, you're not able to relax. And because you're not able to relax, you're not able to wind down, you're not able to live life in a balance, you get your reproductive system dries up and you get infertile. Testosterone and dopamine are very addictive chemicals. Okay, dopamine is very addictive. You can sort of become addicted to success because of dopamine in your body. This addiction is super dangerous because as soon as you're addicted, you have an increase in these hormones, the hot hormones, and you have a decrease in the cooling hormones in your body. And as soon as there's a decrease in your cooling, you can't really restore. And you stay in overdrive, and hence you have fatigue because you're in overdrive of these hot hormones. I'm just going to use simple terminology to help you understand. Serotonin is also usually found lower in women anyway, and it's usually lower regardless. Okay, so even though testosterone is high, serotonin is low, but this is all low. So low estrogen and low melatonin, as we discussed earlier. The formation of cysts, and because of all of this chaos, you just have like the sun in your body, right? There is low levels of oxytocin as well. As we discussed last time, and oxytocin in anxiety is one of the greatest supports, is one of the greatest help because it reduces stress. Great amounts of stress is reduced because of oxytocin. Oxytocin receptors are also in the ovaries, okay? There's receptors in the ovaries that help protect and support egg production. So you need oxytocin, but your whole body needs oxytocin. Because you have high stress, because you have high cortisol and high blood sugar, etc., you'll naturally have less oxytocin. And the reason why you indulge in food a lot is because of your high cortisol. You don't have a lot of love in your life, okay? You don't have a lot of, like, love I mean by oxytocin, okay? Oxytocin is the cuddling love hormone. Because that's not a lot in your life, you rely on food for dopamine. You rely on your work for dopamine. Dopamine is the happiness, right? You rely on those things, but it's very temporary. Love is long-lasting. It's permanent. It's more balanced. Dopamine, it fluctuates when you get a reward. Okay, as soon as you get a reward, you get dopamine, which is why it's temporary. Pleasure is temporary. Food that you eat, it's temporary. Hits of dopamine, which give you satiety, which give you this comforting feeling that you need from oxytocin. But you think you're going to get it, but you don't get it because it's short-term pleasure. Oxytocin is more long-term. It's when you spend time with loved ones. It's when you can cuddle, touch the soil, spend time in water, at the beach, in nature, touching trees, etc. Oxytocin is released then. It's when you spend time with nature itself, okay? With yourself, with nature. When you feel safe then, when you have oxytocin, okay? When you have high amounts of dopamine, it gets fluctuated. Short-term pleasure, you're continuously seeking short-term pleasure through work and your food. you eventually, again, you don't really experience proper love. You don't really experience time, patience, relaxation properly because you're constantly chasing pleasure. Pleasure comes through work, pleasure comes through food for you. Now let's move on to the final understanding of why this happens. Why, as a woman, do you want to do more of male stuff? Why do you feel the need to have this energy within you, this drive within you that you're not able to relax? Okay, not able to unwind. It's because as a woman, you feel insecure about yourself. You feel insecure that you're not enough. That's one side of looking at it, that you want to do a man's job. Okay, you want to do work. You want to basically compete. Testosterone, again, they sort of like make you compete, like competition-driven chemicals in the body. So as a woman, when you want to compete, when you want to work hard so you can be worthy, feel worthy in life, when you want to prove your worth, your value, you get high levels of testosterone naturally. And naturally, your body's like, okay, like I'm not going to be in your way anymore. Women who are highly ambitious, who want to achieve something great, it's not like ambition is bad. Ambition is not bad as long as you can relax, as long as you restore, as long as you feel complete by balance. Dreams are not bad. Work is not bad. But the universe works in balance. And it's not opposing, like the moon doesn't oppose the sun. They work together. In fact, the sun gives energy to the moon to shine, and the moon protects the earth from being infertile. Okay, so they work hand in hand. Men and women, testosterone and estrogen. Testosterone actually makes estrogen, right? And serotonin actually makes melatonin. They work hand, and it's not opposing. Like you can't have. There's no competition between these hormones. There's no competition between the sun and the moon. So if you have this feeling of competition with men, if you have this feeling of competition that I want to prove myself, I want to be worthy, I want to work hard so I can prove that I'm greater than someone, okay? If you have those feelings and you're competitive, your body's going to be like, I'll support you, okay? In your ambitions, I'll support you. I'll become infertile, okay? So that you don't get periods, you miss your periods, you have more time to work. And in fact, women who have PCOS, they often feel before even they get diagnosed with PCOS, they often feel that their periods are an obstacle in their way of achieving their ambition. Okay, so that's their entire psychology towards their uterus. And imagine that, like imagine having that feeling about your uterus that why do women get periods, sort of, that feeling. And if that stays with you, having periods is actually like a big blessing because it allows you to slow down. It's a time for reflection. It's a time to shed away the bad, the old, and enter new life, or enter a new phase. That's what it was meant to be and traditionally was viewed, right? Women having periods, being able to give birth was the most sacred thing. It was very special, okay? It was a time when you slowed down, right? There's a time when you work, when you have energy within you. That's why men and women both produce testosterone and estrogen. It's not men just produce testosterone, right? They also produce estrogen. Both are important for both men and women. That's why if it's not conflicting, that's what I want you to understand. You're not conflicting with a man. Who you are is sufficient. Who you are is what is needed. You don't need to do more to achieve something great in order to prove that you're better than a man. Your worth is there. That's what will make you secure. That's what will make you relax. It will make you go out of this trance of being overworked, of being fatigued, of trying to do everything all at once. You're trying to prove that you can do that. There's no need for you, that you don't deserve to not relax. You deserve to relax. You deserve to sit with the moon, go outside, see the moon's beauty. Women should spend more time with the moon because that's what they're closest to energy-wise. Whereas men, they're closest more to the sun because they have those qualities more. But the union is what is important for a fertile land, for this earth to be habitable, for this earth to be flourishing, for nature to flourish. PCOS is basically your body supporting you to become more masculine because you want to be that. That's what you want, so your body's giving it to you. It's just causing a lot of trouble. It's causing a lot of issues. It's dangerous, right? Because you don't want to. Your body's showing you that even though that you have the power to be that, even though you have the power to have a lot of testosterone in your body, it's dangerous because you get symptoms which basically inhibit birth. Now, what happens is in women or in men, when there's too much testosterone, your body actually clears it up. It's very smart. Using sex hormone binding globulin hormone, which is released in the liver, it helps to clear out excess testosterone that is in your body, that is free in your body. So it's like a sponge that soaks it up. SHGB is a sponge that soaks up, produced by the liver, that soaks up excess testosterone. But because of insulin, this is lowered and it's not there, it's absent. Okay, it's not produced a lot. So you have a lot of testosterone roaming on your body. That's one thing I wanted to just mention. Moving on to understanding a story about goddess Kali. So goddess Kali in the Hindu scriptures there's 9 goddesses who are an avatar of a goddess Durga. So let's just write it down. And this is a very important story for you to understand, is because it directly links to PCOS. I want you to also pay attention to what does PCOS look like in nature. It's like a volcanic eruption, but inside. A volcanic eruption, you have magma, you have a heat that is generating underneath, and there's pressure. Okay, there's pressure from your ego to perform, to do well. And when it erupts, when there is first there is small amounts of lava that flows out, right? It's boiling. You get symptoms like acne and cysts. Okay, I'm just linking it directly to a volcano eruption. Hirsutism, these are symptoms that slowly emerge. As soon as there's an eruption, you can sort of see an eruption as a cyst also erupting. Okay, cyst erupting, you get pain because of that. There's pelvic pain because of cyst erupting. So it's sort of a volcanic eruption, and volcanoes basically destroy the earth. So if there's an eruption, there's a destruction of life on earth, and there's infertility in PCOS. So it's a direct connection to PCOS. From a macro level, if you look at nature and what's happening in nature. One thing I want you to know is there's many ways to help PCOS. You need to quit sugar, that's one thing. Have a low glycemic diet. Have millets, barley, buckwheat, longer taking time, protein to digest foods in your body. Carbohydrates that take longer to digest in your body are better for you. No alcohol. Ensure that you lose weight by doing exercise. That's very important. Herbs like peony, licorice can reduce testosterone a lot, so that helps. Zinc, magnesium. Magnesium it works like metformin, which is a common treatment used for insulin in PCOS. Berberine, NAC, Ashoka, Chitrak, Kutki. These are all Ayurvedic herbs that can help with the management of PCOS. So there's a lot of information online about this, which you can research on your own. But this type of stuff that I'm going to tell you right now, it's the core of understanding and completely diminishing the effects of PCOS in your body because you've worked on your psychology. So the story of Kali. Kali is an avatar of Durga. So Durga, in the Hindu scripture, there is Shiva and Shakti, as we discussed in our erectile dysfunction class. Shiva, who is known as the god of pure consciousness, stable, subtle consciousness, the plane. And the manifestation is the Shakti, which is life force, which puts life on planet Earth. So Durga is basically Shakti, Shiva's wife. Durga's avatar is Kali, which is one of the goddesses of destruction. And now Kali has a beautiful story where the gods, so Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, these are 3 Trinity gods, in the Hindu scriptures, they are not able to kill a particular demon. Okay, there's a demon attacking the earth, and they're not able to kill that demon because the demon has certain powers. To destroy that demon, he has this power that he needs to be destroyed by a woman. So because the male gods are insufficient to destroy the demon, after a lot of destruction on earth because of that demon, Durga wakes up and turns into Kali to destroy this demon. Kali is the goddess of destruction. So when she turns into Kali, there is blood. Okay. Her hair is opened up. Okay. Hair. She has her tongue out. Okay, which I'll explain to you. That also important to know. She's got a sword. She's got a garment of skulls around her neck. So she's got a mala of skulls around her neck. Kali. She's got a moon as well over here. She's got a third eye. Yeah, there's like 4 arms. One has the head, it's in blood. And I'll show you a picture. So this is the head in her hands of the demon. Okay, so she kills that demon. But because she's turned into Kali, because she has so much energy within us, destructive energy within her, battle, warrior type energy, because there's a lot of testosterone, I'm going to link it, testosterone within her body. And dopamine, because she continues to win and kill everybody, all the demons that are in her way. Because of a lot of testosterone, because a lot of battles she's winning, dopamine, a reward, she goes into trance. She is not able to control and stop her own energy, her own ability to stop the killing that she's doing. She's going around killing and she's not able to stop that. And then Shiva, who is Durga's husband, he comes in and he basically lays down on the earth. This is Shiva. Kali steps on him and then she pokes out her tongue because she feels ashamed and she feels like sort of what she's done. Like it's kind of that trance that she's gone into. She doesn't realize it. And as soon as she steps on Shiva, she realizes that instantly her tongue pokes out in shame and embarrassment. And she comes into her form of Durga, which is the balance, which is the fertility, the divinity of the Shakti. So Shakti, as we mentioned, is the uterus. And Kali becomes infertile because she's not able to give birth because she has that destructive energy within her. So this power that she's got, every woman has. Every woman has the energy to produce more testosterone in their body. It's not healthy if they can't control it. It's not healthy for you to keep working, keep having the drive, keep having the ambition if you don't have the balance, if you don't have the relaxation. You need both. And usually when a man comes into your life who is calming, who is supportive, who is gracious, who is gentle, like Shiva, and the stepping on the Shiva, you usually calm down. You become relaxed. Because if the man is not competing towards you, you also stop competing. And then hence that insecurity of you not being enough goes down. So you naturally heal yourself from PCOS. The head of the demon, what does that indicate? It indicates your ego, the woman's ego to become something. Okay, the desires, the passion to achieve something, to prove the worth. The ego wants to prove its worth, achieve status. That's the ego. And that's what Kali's representing. It's the chopping of the head of the demon, which is the ego. That's what Kali's representing. And then you have the hair opening up. So the hair in society, women are meant to keep their hair, like traditionally, it's known to be more poised, to keep the hair knotted and well groomed, etc., well shaped, etc. But when Kali has her hair completely free out, right, it means that freeing of bondage of the societal structures that we live in, that society has built as expectations around a woman. Okay, her hair represents that freeing, okay? That you're free to be who you want to be and achieve what you want to achieve. Right, there is no restriction. Okay, you're open. And the tongue poking. So the tongue, when she steps on Shiva, there's a tongue poke. When you poke out your tongue like this, it's a natural somatic vagal nerve stress-reducing thing. So as soon as you poke out your tongue, you become relaxed. So it's a very subtle story that the Hindu scriptures tell us about Kali, that when you poke out your tongue, or even if you bite your tongue a little bit, scientifically, you reduce your stress. And cortisol comes down. Okay, as soon as she steps, the tongue comes out and cortisol comes down. She comes back into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, there's two nervous systems. Sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, and parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. As soon as you're relaxed, you come back into your natural fertile state, which is meant to be you. That's the whole story. That's the whole connection of PCOS. As a woman, if you want to heal yourself from this condition, if you want to support it at its best, the best thing you can do is not compete, is to not do everything all at once. You can do everything all at once, but you need to accompany it with relaxation. You should disattach your ego to prove yourself that you're worth something. It doesn't really matter at the end. You're already, like, being a woman, being a man. In society, we have the social media, right? We have the structures that you have to prove yourself. You have to achieve something, to become something, to show that you're worthy of something. But you're not. You're already good enough. Like, imagine if you knew that. Imagine if people in society stopped preying on your insecurities. Imagine how life would be, right? You'd be less stressed. You don't have to prove yourself. That's what I want you to understand. You are already Shakti. You are already Goddess Durga. You are already the moon. Okay, the moon doesn't have to prove itself. It's just existing. It's living. That's all you have to, just live your life normally without proving yourself. Disattach, kill the ego. Disattach the ego, do meditation if that helps. In fact, in PCOS, because it calms your mind down completely. Okay, so it will reduce your stress. Not only that, but it will help you to understand that your ego is not really anything. The ego is a societal structure that has been made to trap you in your insecurities and to keep you running in a loop. Okay? Keep you running in a loop that you're not worthy and this is an obstacle. This is an obstacle in your way. That's what they want you to understand, but it's not. Okay? This is the most beautiful thing that a woman has, and it's important to use this to your advantage and not look at it as an obstacle. Look at it as a way to unwind, to relax, to reflect, to understand that you're shedding the old and you're entering a new stage of your life every menses. So spend time with the moon, spend time in nature, have time for yourself. Instead of fulfilling society's expectations, take out time for yourself. That's very important. That's the one thing, loving yourself, taking out time for yourself, not destroying yourself, right? That's the one thing that will help you get closer to feeling like you're a woman. Okay, when you feel like you're a woman, when you feel good enough that being a woman is good enough, okay, when you feel that, you restore fertility, you reduce the pain, you restore oxytocin in your body, you restore love in your body, which helps in reducing inflammation, which helps in making the uterus moist and watery and fertile for birth to happen. I'm just going to show you Kali's photo. Okay, so this is Kali's photo. I couldn't really draw it properly, but as you can see, this is Kali's photo. So yeah, that's PCOS. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I hope you learned about yourself and how your hormones are linked to the moon and the sun. There's a lot that was shared in this class. So take time, watch it again, and realize that you're enough. You don't have to be anyone. Okay, you don't have to do anything to prove yourself. You are perfect. Society just preys on you because it wants to sell you things. It wants to do marketing on you. You shouldn't fall into those traps, okay? You are perfect as you are, and that relieves your stress. Once your stress is relieved, once your endocrine system is in perfect shape, you don't have any of these issues, okay? PCOS, the modern issues that we have in today's day and age, they all go away as soon as you become less stressed. And that's why when you go to a doctor and they tell you that stress is the cause, there's a deeper understanding of why that cause is, why you're stressed out. And this is that. It's the insecurities that you have in your body, which you have to relieve with love and with spending time with yourself, not living up to society's expectations. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next class, which will be on depression.